Sure. And what I'm wondering is whether there is a way to identify leading indicators of what happened in 2008, 2009, and see how those leading indicators are performing currently. Because we could have a downturn that's same, worse, or slightly smaller than what we experienced in the late 2000s. So I'm wondering whether maybe from that perspective, I think the severity of the downturn is also going to impact your model.
Yeah. Yeah, the 2008-2009 recession was fairly severe, we consider so.
Right.
So one thing is, I mean, when we talk about this with Pentius, I don't want to say that they're dismissive, but they obviously look at it as an opportunity for growth. They claim wholeheartedly that they're non-cyclical, and that in recession things are going to get better. Their main concerns, or what they say to us, is that if you really want us to candidly tell you what we think the biggest risks are in our business is, you have to have a thorough understanding of the regulatory risk and the merchant acquisition risk associated with their business model. Do you have any comments around the regulatory risk associated with this type of a business?
Honestly, I do not.
Okay. Fair enough.
And to stay maybe very close to the same subject, in terms of barriers to entry, so there aren't a lot of players in this segment. So, one of the questions is if you can shed some light from your perspective on why aren't there more players, and what are the real barriers for entry? We thought regulation may be one barrier to entry, but obviously there are more, such as maybe technology, maybe know-how, maybe others. So we'll appreciate your perspective on that, if possible.
Well, I think that there's already a lot of companies in that space. It doesn't seem to be particularly high barrier to entry, especially since in the subprime, or just like in any kind of personal loan provider space, the company marketing it isn't necessarily the company funding it, right? There's lots of companies working with banks to secure the loans and then just doing the marketing of it. And certainly from a marketing perspective, there's plenty of companies out there. So if a new one decides to strike a deal with a bank who's willing to go after the subprime market, I don't think that, the only barrier to entry is a website, some offers, and marketing. It's not a huge barrier to entry.
So what the maybe you can help us dissect this, because we've obviously asked this to the customer a bit, and they would say that the defensible piece for them is the ability to acquire large amounts of customers, and so market to them, acquire them, onboard them, and monetize them. So if you're going to have 3 or 500,000 paying customers, to be able to onboard them and monetize them is one thing, and then just the merchant services piece, because they operate in a 7-day free trial period where there are chargebacks, being able to manage that aspect of the business with the various merchant service providers out there that require you apparently not to have more than 1% chargebacks at any one time becomes a difficult thing to manage, and in their opinion is what creates their barriers to entry. Any commentary on the way that they view it?
So I can't speak to the bouncing charges and if they truly have a way.